A UK teacher union now allows members to switch races, not just gender, race. This is a progressive delusion I can get on board with. I mean, this is really good. Now that I, all of a sudden, am identifying as a deported legal alien, can I have my $450K from Uncle Snoozy Biden? I'm Dr. Duke, she's Katie. Well, I used to be Dr. Duke, now I am Dr. Jose Rivera, and this is the Jose Rivera Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Duke Show. We, as you know, are the only program that keeps you educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. Today's show is sponsored by Mike Lindell and our good friends at MyPillow. MyPillow is offering great deals, and this week you get buy one, get one free on all their Giza's cotton sheets. All you got to do is enter the code DRDUKE. Not only do you get your sheets buy one, get one, but you can save up to 66% on everything at MyPillow by entering the access code DRDUKE. And again, those of you who are watching on social media, please hit that share button. If you hit the share button while you're enjoying the show, it goes out to others, and that keeps people educated, and everybody wins. Today, we start in the United Kingdom, where they're just about 25 years ago, they were 30 years ahead of us in terms of liberalism. Now, I'm not even sure they're ahead, maybe a couple of months, 5 months ahead of us in terms of stupidity. Today in the UK, they've decided, a teachers union, that anybody who wants to can identify as a different race. You could actually identify as disabled if you want. Will that mean that somebody will push me around in a wheelchair all the time? That's not a bad get. LGBTQ. Suddenly there's no dress code. And black. Reparations abound. And apparently no one in the UK sees the problem with this.
Well, the Edinburgh branch of the University and College Union, UCU, wrote on their social media to reassert the position in favor of trans inclusion, and they said that liberation cannot be built on exclusion. Now, they linked in their original post to actually a document that was from 2019, and it was called UCU Position on Trans Inclusion, and the union had argued for their members to be able to self-identify as being Black, disabled, LGBT+, or women. Now, obviously, 2019 was so long ago that the LGBT+ is no longer factually correct, so it needs to be LGBTQIA Two-Spirit plus carry the one something else. So they're even not factually accurate.
Well, can anybody be a white man? That's an interesting question. If you're black or lesbian, if you're LGBTQ or disabled, can anybody actually call themselves now a white guy? Any non-white guy, can they do it? I don't know why you would want to do it, but could you do it? Because it was not listed on, notice how it was conveniently not listed on the things that you can trans into. And that's the other problem here. Notice how the word trans now is Are you surprised, Mom and Dad, that the word trans now doesn't just mean one gender to another? Now it means one race to another. And how about one age to another? I am 65 years old today. No, I'm not. I'm not all that close to it, thank God, yet. But however, I'm going to identify as 65, so you can start sending me Social Security checks. Bring them on down. When it comes to getting into movies for real cheap, I identify as a 3-year-old. So I want the little kid's price. When it comes to eating at Denny's, right, I want the kids' meal because I'm 3 years old, and you can't charge me for it. What a wonderful trans world we're entering, where everything is trans everything all the time.
How many kids' meals are you going to order, though?
Does it matter? I'm
trans-calorie.
I'm trans-caloric.
Well, because if you're 3 and under, right, they don't eat much. So I'm just wondering how, just so you're aware how many kids' meals you're going to have to order.
I'm a special kid. I'm a trans-caloric kid, which means, unlike most kids, I need 2,000 calories a day. And so they've got to give me enough free Happy Meals because of my it's a disability. Most kids, little kids, can operate on 1,000 calories a day, 1,200 maybe. But because I have a glandular problem, they said I identify as disabled, right? Mm-hmm. My disability is I need 1,000 more calories a day to be happy than the average little kid. So I should get my free Denny meal as a grand slam, shouldn't I?
Oh, jeez.
Why not? The grand slam for dysfunction trans disability kids like me.
Well then, a staff member at the university who, rightfully so, declined to give a name because fear of retribution and such, said that the union, like this issue was being weaponized, use that term, weaponized, in order to force out the academics who fail to follow the party line. Have you seen anything similar going on all over maybe a country you live in where you're told you must do something to toe the party line so that we can maybe separate the wheat from the chaff? All right. The quote from this unnamed staff member was, "The branch is being used as a platform for an ideological crusade with no resistance from the university's management." Bingo. Higher education.
In other words, what we're doing is we're trying to bait anybody in the administration who might call this ridiculous, right? And then we fire them. This movement to become a different race, it first gained international attention after biologically white, pasty white American branch president of the NAACP, remember her, Rachel Dolezal, out in Washington? She announced that she identified as black in 2015, despite having two white parents. Taking language often used to justify transgenderism, Dolezal argued that, quote, race is a social construct too, and therefore she should be able to identify as another race. In 2017, she legally changed her name Nkechi Amare Diallo, a West African name that means gift of God. By the way, in the Lithuanian language, that name Diallo means race hustling hoe, but never mind. More recently, British internet personality Oli London announced that he had transitioned into a Korean person after having a swath of surgeries in order to look like Jimin, Jimin, the famed singer of K-pop band BTS. So you have rich billionaires getting surgery to look like little Korean kids, and that's not creepy at all.
All right, before we hop on to it, just a reminder that if you enjoy our content, please consider joining the Patriot Club. Your tax-deductible donation literally keeps our show right on moving. Simply visit patriotclub.us to get signed up. That's patriotclub.us. And as the special thank you, other than saying thank you, we will ship you our brand new American Patriot tumbler with George Washington. Well, we're not going to be at Washington. We're going to be at Harvard. And Harvard's doing the Harvard things like they always do. They just are hosting the Experience the Art, the American Repertory Theater event. And no whites are allowed at a special showing because they're showing Macbeth. But it's not just Macbeth. You can't just be like, hey, Macbeth, Shakespeare wrote this play, it was called Macbeth. No, it must be Macbeth, Macbeth in stride. And it's a dazzling theatrical event. Now let's read the full description. A dazzling theatrical event created by Obie Award-winning artist Whitney White and performed by White in an ensemble with a live band, Macbeth in Stride examines what it means to be an ambitious black woman through the lens of one of Shakespeare's most iconic characters. The first of White's 5-part series, commissioned by ART, excavating the women from Shakespeare's canon. The production uses pop, rock, gospel, and R&B to trace the fatalistic arc of Lady Macbeth while lifting up contemporary black female power, femininity, and desire.
And take a look at the video, and if you see nothing in common with Macbeth, because it's not Macbeth.
2, 3, 4.
Whitney White's a genius to look at Shakespeare from this standpoint. The music was fantastic.
The singing was wonderful.
Completely blown away.
I never thought Macbeth could be humorous.
It was so refreshing. It was a really interesting and creative reimagining of it.
Her take on the character was so interesting and really fun.
I've never seen any Shakespeare before, and it was easy to follow.
Macbeth isn't funny. It's not. It's not the same play. Are you not able to realize this? And to the little girl, right? I've never seen any Shakespeare before, and I could understand this. Yeah, because you still haven't seen any Shakespeare. And we're selling this story, right? That Harvard's bragging that they're having only black viewings of this show. We're setting aside only black people allowed to come. And who did they interview? Apparently no black people like... You still can't get black people to like Shakespeare, even though you blacked it all up, because the only people you could interview were white women.
Now, the event they just had very, very recently with the black-only people says, we have designated this performance to be an exclusive space for black-identifying audience members. For our non-black allies, we appreciate your support in making this a completely black-identifying evening. We invite you to join us at another performance during the run. Proof of vaccination or negative test results required to attend. Please enter promo code BLACKOUT or another promo code to access this performance.
And as we just learned in England, you can identify a black by just saying so. So all those white women, idiotic, stupid, shallow white women who were just interviewed after the show, oh, the singing was wonderful. They're actually black people.
Well, I'm guessing they were at a different performance, but we don't know. It's black identifying only. I guess what you have to prove most importantly is if you got the jab. That's what I got out of that paragraph.
And you still have to wear the mask.
And you still have to wear the mask. But the Foundation for Individual Rights in Education, FIRE, we've talked about them many, many, many times. They all care about free speech on college campuses all the time. All college campuses, not just the ones that are named Harvard. And they are saying, though, that they needed to end the segregated event that they had. Colleges like Harvard that accept federal funding must agree not to discriminate on the basis of race. As FIRE said, as an integral part of Harvard, the American Repertory Theater is subject to the university's legal obligations and policies under federal law, excluding university students, faculty, and staff from educational enrichment opportunities based on race is forbidden. Now, you could make the argument, as I think Dr. Duke probably would, that they're going to be free and clear because this was not an educational enrichment opportunity at all, because that was not meant that.
It's like let's borrow the name Shakespeare that has a lot of cachet and replace everything that's Shakespearean about it with some kind of hip-hop little performance art theater. Fantastic, knock yourselves out. But you still can't discriminate based on the basis of race. But Harvard does it every day. Good luck if you're an Asian kid getting into Harvard, because you're just too smart for Harvard and not nearly diverse enough. But if you want to go to, maybe this is the clue to getting in as an Asian. Do an Asian version of hip-hop, a hip-hop Asian version of The Tempest. Do that. Take something from Western culture and completely empty it out of any meaning and make it about you as a fabulous Asian person. Maybe they'll start letting you in again. Work for the blacks.
As I've argued for years now, there is nothing new under the sun. We have nothing new going on in any sort of the arts. So instead, we're just taking good classic art, literature, anything, and twisting it to make it something else because we can't come up with any new ideas. As we know, science is racist. Always has been, apparently always will be.
And you know how science is racist?
How?
Because there's a lot of white dudes.
Well.
That makes it racist. A lot of those old guys in togas, racist.
So when you only have whites being nominated for a prestigious award in the sciences, no one gets it because we need diversity and you are not providing it, so no award for you. Now, the Scientific American reported that 5 of the nation's top ice scientists... Hi, nice to meet you. I'm an ice scientist.
Ooh,
Hey,
you have a gold handshake.
Ooh. Now, 5 of them were supposed to review peer-nominated candidates for the American Geophysical Union's, AGU, Fellows Program. And they took a look. They saw that all the nominees were white.
Yeah, you know how
male.
you know how blacks really love ice, right? Think about all the black ice skaters out there, figure skaters. Think about all the black hockey players. Think about all the blacks that you see on Polar Jump into the frozen water day. It's just amazing. Given the cultural love of ice cold things of African Americans, you wonder why no black ice scientists were nominated.
I'm not sure. Basically, the nominees were white and male, and so, when you got those two combined, boom.
The committee said
nobody gets it.
Nope. we're gonna give it to nobody because all we have to choose from are white men. So there you go.
Now, one of the members of the panel is the Scripps Institution of Oceanography glaciologist, title right there, Helen Fricker. And she said the revelation that the nominees were all white men, quote, was kind of a bit of a showstopper for me, end quote. So Fricker admitted that she was placed on the review panel because she had previously complained about a lack of diversity. So clearly, that's all you need to do. Don't be that talented as a glaciologist. Just complain that we're not diverse enough, and then you happen to be a female, and then you get to be on said committee. That's she just admitted it. She said one of the reasons I was put on the committee was because I'd been quite vocal about the year that I'd been a fellow. I was very much in the minority, and we needed to do better and get more women. And she was named a fellow back in 2017. Now, it's not that easy to get nominated for said prestigious award. Simply being a white male is not the only qualifications. The selection process this past spring was quite arduous and careful operation from beginning to end. Candidates, typically middle or senior level scientists, they first are nominated by the peers. Then the nominees are divided into groups with 20 or 30 names. And then they're organized by scientific disciplines within the AGU, and it's atmospheric sciences, ocean sciences, planetary sciences, so on and so forth. And committees representing each section review the pool of the nominees, they select a few final candidates, and then they send them to an upper tier committee. And this last group is the union committee, then makes the final selections. So the process proceeds the same way each year and concludes with the same outcome, a new batch of AGU's best and brightest scientists. Except this year, because it just so happens that the best and the brightest are white men for this specific group.
Welcome to Instant Classics. You know, we try to take a break from all the heavy news and all the depressing stuff out there with a little bit of education. The theme for this week has been oddities of the Vatican. When you think about what it must be like to go through all the linen closets of the Vatican, what buried treasure, things that even the Vatican forgot that they've saved over 2,000 years. It would be very interesting, or at least 1,500 years. But Vatican City, which is also known officially as, we'll take a look at the picture there. There it is. There's the Vatican. It is an independent nation state, believe it or not. I'm always surprised to learn that it's 121 acres. When you just look at that picture, you would think it'd be a lot more than that. 121 acres make up the Vatican, and there's only about 825 people who actually live there. So it is the smallest nation and the smallest nation state in the world. It is a theocracy. How about that, right? Where it is governed by a religious majority, or I should say completely by people who believe in Roman Catholicism. And it has some of the greatest museums in the whole world. If you take a look at the picture for today, we're looking at Bramante's staircase, looking at oddities of the Vatican. If you go, you can go see the Sistine Chapel, you can look at all sorts of predictable touristy things, or you could do the oddity tour, and this is one of them. This is a beautiful, huge, spiraling staircase that was actually carved out of stone. It's a remarkable engineering feat. To see the Vatican's double helix design staircase, you may have to turn on your superstar swag and ask for the VIP special. Not everybody who goes gets to see it. If you're lucky, your eyes will be treated to the coolest staircase you've ever seen. The Bramante's elaborate design was carved out of stone in the 1400s, before the new dome was even placed there. The lucky few who are permitted to cross the red tape are sternly instructed, quote, to look with your eyes and not your hands. Do not touch it. It's ironically a staircase you're not allowed to climb. So it's a beautiful staircase that no one's allowed to actually climb the stairs. Back in the day, Bramante used to have horses running up and down its steps. Now it barely gets any use. Doesn't that just sound like a metaphor for institutionalized Christianity right now? right? Back in the heyday, back in the Renaissance, they even had horses prancing up and down those staircases. Now nobody sees them, nobody goes, nobody uses them. There's a dangerous metaphor there, or an analogy there you can make between what happens to Christianity then and now. It actually looks like it would be a lot of fun to slide down those banisters, doesn't it? Can you imagine what the liability on that would be? So think about this the next time you go to Italy. 121 square miles. I am more than confident in pointing out that 121 square miles that that composes the Vatican contains more art than probably any place else in the world 10 times bigger. When you think about the concentration of artifacts and books and objects and paintings and sculptures and mosaics and even staircases is really, really, really stunning. And so it'd be one of those places, like I said at the beginning, you'd love to wander around finding the things that you would find there that have been buried there so long that even the Vatican itself doesn't necessarily know what they have in some instances. You could spend a whole lifetime, and people do spend whole lifetimes doing nothing more than studying and appreciating and catalog these incredible artistic and humanistic and philosophical treatises so important to the history of Western culture. It's too bad nobody cares about Western culture anymore, because it would be a really remarkable thing to see.
Oakley dokley, we want to take a moment now to show some love to our very special Patriot Club members. And today, the ever special shout out is going to Pat from Whittier, California. Pat, you're in California. We still thank you for supporting us.
Absolutely. That wraps up this show for Freedom Project. I'm Dr. Duke. She's Katie. Until next time, stay educated.